As Prime Minister, Kevin Rudd had many visions. One was to make Australia a world leader in clean coal. And so an institute was created to develop technology that would capture and store carbon from power plants. The government committed $315 million to the global CCS Institute. But as Michael Aitken reports, its critics argue it has failed to attract major investment from its global members, and the money it has spent has achieved little.
In Victoria's Latrobe Valley, researchers are trying to turn the carbon capture dream into reality. This project is exploring the best way to stop gases from Loy Yang Power Station entering the atmosphere.
In this pilot plant, it's a post-combustion capture plant. We capture the carbon dioxide.
But this tiny pilot is far from the real deal, capturing less than 1% of Loy Yang's emissions. And it hasn't even begun tackling how to store the carbon dioxide underground.
What I would like to see is that we at least get, as soon as possible, one plant to show that this technology is working.
No one ever has put all the pieces together into one commercial effort, have it run, kick the tires, as we say in the States, see what happens to the carbon dioxide.
Carbon capture and storage, or CCS, takes the emissions from power stations and other sources, compresses the CO2 into liquid and stores it in deep geological formations or old oil and gas fields. But the enormity of the task hit home last year, with 11 major projects hitting the wall.
Almost every major project around the world that has been started in the last few years has either been delayed, stopped, or cancelled outright.
CCS was seen as a great climate hope, offering major polluters a green makeover.
Carbon capture and storage can reduce emissions from power plants and industry to almost zero.
For a major coal producer like Australia, finding ways to reduce carbon emissions from coal is a clear priority.
In 2008, the Australian Prime Minister created a new body to lead the way, the Global CCS Institute. Its brief was to get the industry moving by assisting projects and bridging knowledge gaps.
It's our aim to see major CCS projects become a reality, and for them to contribute to solving one of the greatest challenges that confronts our generations.
And the start-up was cashed up with $100 million a year in federal seed funding.
This is a fun diagram.
Dr. Peter Cook was alongside Kevin Rudd at the Institute's launch. But shortly afterwards, the world-renowned CCS scientist wrote to the Prime Minister, warning a new body was unnecessary.
Well, I was suggesting that we had a more collaborative approach to it and to build on existing organisations rather than necessarily setting up a new organisation.
The Department of Prime Minister and Cabinet says it has no record of the letter. Brad Page has been in charge of the Global Institute for the last 5 months. He concedes the Rudd government funding was too much too soon.
Well, I think history has shown that the Institute actually was unable to spend that sort of money up front.
At the G8 summit in 2009, Kevin Rudd took to the world stage to relaunch the Global Institute. Other government and industry players were expected to get on board.
In many respects, the eyes of the world are on L'Aquila.
Hold on, Kevin. You've got backup here. Come on, guys.
It's good that we all hunt in packs.
While leaders may rush to fill podium space, the Institute's 330 international members haven't been in a hurry to bankroll it. Only minor donations have come from the US government and European Commission, totalling around $4.6 million. One former Global Institute employee, who was asked not to be identified, says insiders are frustrated it has failed to prove its worth.
If the Institute had a robust program that was going to see projects move forward, why wouldn't governments or companies put their hands up and say, we'll put money into it?
Industry critics say the Global Institute has been a disappointment because it's underspent on projects. Financial reports obtained by 7:30 reveal it has $145 million sitting unused in its coffers. So far, it's given just $37 million for CCS projects around the world, including for this coal plant in West Virginia.
I certainly don't understand why Australia would be funding projects in other rich countries.
Mountaineer is one of 3 US projects run by corporations with billions in assets and annual revenue.
If they're interested in the technology, they should be pursuing it by themselves.
All 3 American projects have now been scrapped or placed on hold. The former Global Institute employee says internal division was rife about funding rich companies.
Multi-billion-dollar projects really don't benefit from the type of funding the Institute is able to offer. There were a lot of views within the Institute and beyond that felt that CCS projects and the governments from countries where these projects are based should be funding them on their own.
The Canadian power company TransAlta has received $5 million from the Global Institute. It plans to retrofit this coal plant, but the project's future is in doubt.
This may be simply a one-off demonstration project of a technology that ultimately can't make an economic business case.
The funding that the Institute provides to projects is not about causing projects in the end to be built. We simply don't have a budget that big. In fact, we've always been a knowledge acquirer and a knowledge sharer.
Financial reports obtained by 7:30 show maintaining a global presence has proven costly. In the last 2 financial years, the Global CCS Institute has spent $7.4 million on travel and meetings, $11.3 million on contractors and consultants, and almost $6 million on administration.
We're actually getting the organisation slowly but surely into a more steady state where we can cut back on some of those travel costs.
While the Global Institute was funding international projects, Australia's big CCS hope was collapsing. ZeroGen was a multi-billion-dollar clean coal plant being planned for central Queensland. In December 2010, ZeroGen fell over.
I won't hide my disappointment in that sense, and every little bit would have helped.
Dr. Kelly THAMBIMUTHU, a former board member, believes the Global Institute didn't do enough.
They could have come in and facilitated things like financing, at the difficult end of the spectrum.
Dr. THAMBIMUTHU believes that the Institute should have simply bankrolled ZeroGen at whatever cost to make sure that it proceeded, but that is not our role.
Lack of results is allowing political support to fade away. The Gillard government has slashed industry assistance, the opposition wants to scrap the Global Institute, and the Greens don't want CCS to receive any taxpayer money.
The vast majority of our funding comes from the Australian government. From this year, it's in decline. If we don't do something to bolster that and manage the organisation responsibly, then it would not have a future.
You've got the likes of Xstrata and Woodside as members of the Global Institute. Why don't they think it's worth giving money to you?
Well, to be honest, at this stage, nobody's required them to actually pay anything to the Institute.
But like CCS technology, time may be running out for the Global Institute to prove its worth.
Is it going as fast as some said 10 years ago it would go? Probably not. But that's not to say it isn't progressing. It is not dead in the water. It is clearly a winning technology, and we'll continue working at it.
The Energy Minister Martin Ferguson was unavailable for interview tonight. Michael Aitken with that report.